we have Jeff Gately, who will probably sleep very well tonight. Jeff, thank you. I know you worked very hard today, but we've had a few questions, and there was some confusion even with me on the wells and the recent pump repairs, and now we're replacing. So I just wanted you to come in and you can just...
Yeah, and you know what, I apologize. I lost track of time. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, we were digging the pads for the generators today, and the ground's a little hard, so it took a lot longer than what we anticipated. But anyway, back to the well. Everybody was aware of the issue we were having, starting with the float switch, and there were pieces in, and the panel kept breaking and chlorinating the system, what have you. What we've come to discover, we put a new switch in within 2 weeks' time. That switch failed with the same thing. However, this time we noticed that the actual panel, which was made out of copper, was eaten away. So there was a super high concentrated chlorine that was in the standpipe within not into the system. We never actually turned that well back on. What we determined happened was the check valve, which is located in the standpipe, kind of halfway up between where the well is, to keep the water from coming back, had failed. It was stuck open. So the water in turn is going back down about 200 feet back to where the aquifer is, and it was pulling the chlorine gas into that standpipe, which in turn ate away that copper. The only way we could fix that was to actually pull the pump. Now, we had a company that had come out, pulled the pump, megged it. They were astonished that we got 19 years out of a pump. Their claim was that 7 to 10 years is the max, especially for the one that is the cast iron ductile as opposed to the stainless steel. They could repair the pump, but for something that's 19 years old, I just can't see, with all the labor involved in pulling it, we're better off putting a new one in. We have a couple of different options we can do. Fortunately, well one, when it was televised, and once I have the actual video of it, I want to display it because it is a very, very neat thing to see. You can actually see the bedrock in the whole of where the water comes from. The well company, Water Well Solutions, was very impressed with the output and the water quality of that well. And we've got a couple different options we're looking at. We're going to meet with Rick Lieber and Terry Graham Thursday at 10 just to kind of go over. Right now, the pump that's in there is a 325 gallon a minute cast iron. To replace that, we've got figures to replace it. We could also upgrade it to an all stainless steel pump, which would obviously make most sense because it'll never rust. The one that was in there had a couple of holes in it, nothing severe. It was actually pumping 280, something like that. I mean, it was sufficing well for as long as it's been in there. I just feel that it's best to put a new one in since we've already gone through all of this, so we know there's something we're going to have to touch, as opposed to having them rebuild the one or just drop it back in there and let it go. We can also, another option is increase the pumping from 325 to 500 gallon, which is what well 3 operates at. This is something we should actually really consider doing, just because the water quality in this aquifer is a lot better than the quality over at Cranberry Lake. Cranberry Lake has a higher iron content. So if we could put more out of the list drive and use that as the filler or the substitute per se, that might be something to consider. But we'll talk about this. We have a committee meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. Everybody's welcome to attend.
I got a question. I talked to Gary about this just briefly this evening. Since we're replacing things, we're running out of life on some of them, is our water system, and maybe you can't answer this now, if you can't, that's fine, is our water system built in a logical and intelligent, efficient manner? Or is this the time to really look at the system, the wells, the pumping, maybe even the way the piping is laid out for distribution? Is it time to review that and see if there is a better way? And I'm guessing, I really don't know.
I would tend to say that with the system, I mean, literally for the last 19 years, other than very minor maintenance issues, the system's run flawlessly. There could have been a couple things. For instance, where the chlorine switch was located, it was not in the correct spot. It should have been on the other side of the screen. And a couple little things like that. A couple things that concern me when we had the water main break. I was under the assumption that all of the water mains in Hainesville were PVC, which is not necessarily the case. That one that blew was ductile, or cast iron. So again, we have a little bit of a mishmash. We actually don't know what's in the ground. Some of it's
material.
Yeah.
We don't have as-built.
We have
accurate as-built.
There you go. There you go, accurate.
Yeah.
It tells you where a pipe might be.
I think the system's designed well. I think it functions well.
Well, you mentioned to me earlier this week, I think that we had a short talk, that we have one well that just pumps what, a couple hundred gallons?
Well, number 2.
A couple hundred gallons a minute, and that's the max it can put out?
That would be the max.
Is there any value in...
It's not a minute. That's almost like, because that's just barely, it's not 275 a minute that well 2 pumps. Can you? Because that's almost the capacity that the well pump.
No, well pump, no.
No, it's not even.
Well, 2 pumps, I think, like 60 gallons a minute.
60 gallons. Is there any value in shutting it down or improving the well? I don't know if this is just a guess on my part, since it's so close to the other one, does it need to go deeper so we can get more flow?
That's actually something that we're going to talk with Rick Lieber about from Manhart to see if we're within the same aquifer, if we dig that one down a little bit further, increase the capacity of the pump, we probably wouldn't even need well 3, or that would be a viable backup, to alternate back and forth. There was talk several years ago just to cap it and be done with it, because I think that pump has not run probably within the last 5 years.
Yes, run at all.
No, I
In
think
your conversation, then could you please ask about the possibility, because you're paying for electricity to it and other things.
Another possibility, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you're going to touch on this tomorrow, especially if we talk about well 2, is we've never depended heavily on well 2 that I know of anyway, is that we have another well on the property we acquired. Well, yeah, but the one is really just to service the building. The other one is more substantial. Yeah, obviously it would still have to be reworked if it ever became a municipal well, but that's a viable option, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we may talk about exploring that well to see what its capacity is, what aquifer that one's in.
So it's just worthwhile to kind of review the system to find out
Yes.
the best option?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Infrastructure and such, I think, the design is very good. It served the village well. We have great pressure. We've gone through 2 the insurance rating tests. I mean, we're A+ with them. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Certainly, we should look into if there's any type of upgrade or a different service, or activate this one, deactivate the other.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well 1 and 2, proximity-wise, how close are they together?
I want to say they're probably within 80 feet.
And one of those 2 is the one that we haven't been using.
Correct.
Number 2.
Which is the main workhorse, 3 or 1?
1. They alternate between.
Okay.
But basically, the village will run off of well 1, and then
We like 1 better.
on a heavy use day,
Then 3 would...
3 will kick on to supplement.
3 pulls more iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would actually rather.
We'd like to want.
I would rather increase.
You'd rather be at Lift's location
Yes.
versus Cranberry's
Yes.
location.
Which is another reason why we want to check out this well
Yeah.
To see where we're at here.
on the iron
Right.
issue.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Jeff? Before we let him go home and deflate?
We got a little mess up there.
You still got more mess to clean?
Yeah, unfortunately, we blew a hydraulic line on the big giant cap. The Dave's big one, so I've got, we're working on some issues. Again,
It smells like hydraulic.
Well, we appreciate you putting yourself up and coming back over here.
I apologize, I totally lost track of time when you texted me. At any rate.
Okay,
Oh, we'll do it.
if there's no more questions for Jeff, we'll move on to item 3. I kind of chuckled when I got this one in the mail. IDOT always sends me something that always magically arrives here around December 23rd, and it's not a holiday greeting card. It's usually a contract or an agreement that needs to be signed very soon and returned, or else whatever gracious little work they're offering to do for us will fall off the list. So we have an agreement which is approving an upgrade on the traffic signals at the intersection of Illinois 120 and Hainesville Road, and Illinois 120 and Illinois 134 with LED module lights, which I thought was also ironic given what we just decided to do. Uninterruptible power supply, so there'll be backup generator on those lights if there's a power outage, and countdown pedestrian signals. So I am asking for approval for me to sign these documents and send them back to IDOT in a timely manner.
So,
Second.
Roll call.
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, we have discussion.
Yeah, why are they charging engineering for one and not the other one?
or are they lumping it together?
Not according to the line item. 120 and 134, there's a 3,000 state cost, county cost, nothing, village, nothing. On the bottom one at Hainesville on 120, it's a $75 fee and a $500 fee for $575 to us. Not that it's that much, but why one and not the other one?
Because Hainesville Road is a county road, and that's our agreement with Lake County.
I thought this was the state.
It is, but because they're intersecting a county highway, they have to contact the county department, involve county engineering, and then we pay our portion for the county engineering, which is $500.
That's all it takes into this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know those relatives I said you don't like?
I have a question. Once they do all this, are they going to have to redo it when they put in the right turn lane?
They'll make adjustments to the light, but they do that. That's minor.
So this will actually take care of power losses. You should have these still up.
You still have lights operating, so you don't have to worry about somebody directing traffic.
The flashing reds.
Yeah.
Because that was a mess.
So that's actually a very good thing.
It was a mess last time.
The only thing that I have noticed in the wintertime now with the LED lighting is that traveling throughout areas that have a lot of it, the old incandescent bulbs used to melt the snow, and a lot of times now you'll see that these traffic lights get packed with the snow, and the LED lighting does not melt the snow. So that's something you pay attention to.
Well,
As you start seeing that,
that's interesting.
that comes from the transportation side.
Okay, well, that's a good item to look at.
I thought that was just hanging out with
No, I don't hang out.